Hey, what's up, y'all? And welcome back to another Alternative Factuals video. So what's going to happen here is I want to spend a moment here to kind of explain what's going on with me, my channel, and some other things that I'm doing. So I started this channel to kind of talk about Black comic books and Black comic book characters, which I still enjoy doing. However, there's some other interests because of this channel that have kind of arisen, that have kind of taken the front seat of, what I want to do. I'm still going to do this channel, obviously. I'm not going to stop. But I would encourage you to support the other channel that I do, which is Dead Donkey Productions, where I go over a lot of my primary, job functions and behind the scenes and creating films, because they're very much inspired, one, to create Black films for Black people, but also it encourages everyone to I'm encouraging everyone to watch it, because I'm getting to a point where, because I've kind of gotten pretty good at what I do and I'm starting to actually get some recognition for what I'm doing. I can create films that are targeted specifically just for our demographic, or speak primarily to our demographic, because that's my background. But support the channel. I'll put the links already in the description. I'll be able to share videos and do all that stuff, and hopefully we can kind of progress and evolve this channel and the other channel, so that way I can reach more people. It's more film related, so I'll be doing things that are like fictional, horror movies, even documentaries as well. But just wanted to let you guys know that. But in this video for today, we are going to be covering a very, very, very dope comic book. So I actually switched the order for the video. So Bitterroot's gonna come out next week, I believe on Wednesday, but this week we are covering the comic book called Black. And oh boy, this is chapter 1, by the way. So this is by, I'm gonna butcher these names stupid hard, but this book is this comic is quite interesting, and it's quite it's gonna trigger some people, and I'm gonna go over the reasons why as we kind of go over it. But just want to let y'all know, this is an amazing comic book, and y'all need to go over it, and y'all need to go check it out. And I'm not gassing it either. This is something that really is you should be reading. But the author is Kwanzaa Osajiefo, and the illustrator is Jamal Eagle. So if I butcher the name, someone's gonna correct me, but either way, let's kind of just dive into the comic. So what makes this comic very interesting is that, one, it doesn't have any problem kind of touching on the issues that happen within the Black community regarding the relationship between Black people and the police. Off the rip, on the first page, you can already tell where this is going. Now, I can agree with some people that when it comes to Black comics, I think even though social issues are absolutely important to talk about, I do not think they're the only thing we have in terms of being Black. Even though we do have a lot of hardships, we have a lot of prejudice, racism that we deal with on a regular, we can tell other stories. So I do believe that sometimes it can be overused, but I think this comic only use it as a way to kind of progress the story forward. And I'm not going to say like they never talk about it again, but it's more or less just a catalyst that's going to lead to like a bigger thing. But off the rip, you see on the first page, the first 2 pages actually, you see the relationship between African Americans and the police force. Now you see that supposedly the police is looking for someone who was suspected for an armed robbery, and there's just 3 Black kids. And of course, we already know where this is going. The police stop them because they supposedly fit a description. One of the kids panics, and then he just bolts. But then by the time he even takes off, the cops then shot all 3 of them, and they're dead. Now, off the rip, you're gonna get very frustrated, very difficult, but I do have some good news. On the very next page, you find out the kid who was in the middle, I guess the protagonist in this story, he resurrects. But it seems like he doesn't know how he survived, how he resurrected himself, and there seems to be something else going on that's much, much larger than what it seems, because when he jumps onto the car that's kind of moving behind him in traffic, someone looks him dead in the eye, but then doesn't look surprised that he was able to jump out of this ambulance, almost as if he knew what was going on. So the kid moves off the car, eventually bolts, and then starts running. And then eventually he makes his way all the way down to this alleyway where he's able to slide into this like little basement window, and then he kind of keeps himself in there. Now the police surround him, so that's something he has to deal with eventually. But it seems like someone was already expecting him to take that route. and we meet this man. Now, we don't know who this man is yet, but this man seems to be an ally, and he's black. So, you know, I honestly trust him more than I trust anybody else. But, you know, moving on with the story. But he's black. And then he tells him, I'm not the people chasing you, but I know bad things will happen if they catch you. And they will catch you, no doubt about that. And you have no choice but to come with me, or if you decide you want to stay here and deal with the dozens of cops, you can definitely just, you know, make that choice for yourself. But of course, he lets them know as well, to help him make this decision, he has a team of people who seem to have special abilities that help him kind of buy time until this kid is able to make the choice for himself. And I guess eventually the kid was just like, hey, look, I ain't got no other choice, man. It's either them cops outside, or I go with the one brother who actually ain't pointing a gun at me, who's actually having a conversation with me. So he decides to go with him, and the guy says, smart choice. Then he wakes up in some sort of house. We don't know where it is yet, but eventually he does go downstairs and has a dialogue with an older woman who actually tells him to sit down and peel these peas. Now, everyone who grew up in a black household with their grandmother, the grandfather, when it's cooking, all that stuff, you better sit down and you better peel them peas, or you better, you know, skin them potatoes. You better do what you're supposed to do. You feel me? But either way, he's kind of reminiscing about what happened, where is he, what's going on, and, you know, essentially just how things have come to be and how things kind of progressed. And we find out his name is Kareem. So remember that Kareem is the protagonist, the person who we're following in this story. Now he asks, where are we? And he says, Chicago. This is the guy who was actually in the basement with him. So Kareem asks the man, okay, we're in Chicago. Cool. Well, I have questions. How did I get here? How did I survive, you know, all these gunshots? And the guy was wondering the same thing Kareem was asking. But instead of answering the questions, he throws him off the building and essentially waits for him to land at the bottom. But this time he doesn't take any damage. So what are we getting here? Kareem has powers, and not only does he have powers, it seems like he doesn't take any damage. It seems like as if the police interaction kind of set off a set of abilities that he has, where he might have a healing factor or he might be completely invulnerable. But nonetheless, if he does take damage, it seems like he can heal very quickly. We still don't know the totality of his powers yet, but we do know that he has powers, and not many people can survive over 12 gunshots straight to the chest and head and body. And also no one can survive falling off a building the way that he was able to do that. So that's something to keep in mind. Kareem is pretty powerful already, and his powers are just now manifesting. But this is where the thing kind of gets super duper interesting. This man brings Kareem to a place called the Project. It's essentially a global network of specialist volunteers who work to keep the entirety of this so-called project and people like Kareem and the man a secret. And this is done simply because, one, we already know how the government would do, and when it comes to people of power, especially when we find out who these people of power are, the government will have no problem experimenting and trying to figure out what makes these people tick. But he essentially brings him to the project, where he meets this Dr. Pistorius Coife, and they're able to explain the situation to him better. And it says people like me, people like him, people like Kareem. But of course, Kareem is being like, you know, this perverted teenage, you know, boy. Seeing her, I ain't gonna lie, she look a little thick, you feel me? She got some bitties on her goddamn, but like But essentially Kareem is talking to her, and then she explains Quirks. Now you think Quirks as in My Hero Academia, but they kind of spelled it differently. It's more like Quirks, like Quarks. So essentially it's different. They say it's particles that exist in all matters, and each quark has a set color, spin, and charge, and they're known basically to kind of react or interact with matter. So essentially, quarks have kind of emerged recently in a very small select group of people, 0.05% of people, and each one has their own set of abilities that manifest in different combinations and affect human atoms on a quantum level in various forms of possibilities and all that stuff. Well, this is why I say this part is extremely important. I said I would get back to it when I mentioned it before. So not only would the government experiment on people with powers, but here is the even bigger kicker. Not only are these powers affecting a small group of people, they're only affecting one group of people, black people. So these powers seem to be manifesting only in those who are of African descent. And this organization is designed to not only find people who are just like them, but make sure that they can not only float under the radar, but make sure that they can live regular lives and prevent other people from being experiments of the government. Because we'll find out eventually that at some point in the past, the government did get their hands on some people, but ultimately, you know, things did transpire differently, and I don't want to spoil what it is. But it seems like the government is aware of the special group of black people, because they were able to get a blood sample from Kareem when he took the bullet from the ambulance, and he was able to get a sample, obviously because his powers didn't manifest at the second, so he was able to take damage but quickly healed once his quirk activated. So it seems like Kareem especially, is his quirk type is far more complex than any other they've encountered before. Then essentially they need to get in contact with Kareem Jenkins, which is essentially an organization which seems to only consist of white people, along with the man who was driving that car behind the ambulance in which Kareem jumped out of. So what this means is Kareem could be one of the most powerful of these people to exist, and they need to get him immediately. So there's one of two options that's going to happen. Either he is completely invulnerable to all disease, damage, he has a healing factor, he can resurrect himself, or that is only a byproduct of several abilities that he might possibly have, since they said his quirk is far more complex. And complex usually means more. The more things you add to something, the more complex it gets. So it could mean he could manifest several abilities that could make him the most powerful of this so-called project people to be on the face of the earth. So not only is this ability rare, but it's rare among black people. And not only is it rare among black people, but he is the most powerful of the rare, which means he is one of the highly sought after commodities in this comic book right now. But let me know what you think in the comments down below, and if you're new to the channel, please be sure to like, share, and of course subscribe. And then next week we'll see how issue 2 goes, if I can do 2 videos after I do Bitterroot. Let me know if you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you later on. Peace out.